I have a challenge for you. Name a personality disorder that can only be cured with a bullet. I'm willing to bet that no matter which disorder you name, Cartman already has it. Now, imagine being his girlfriend. Now that's Heidi's life. When Carmen and Heidi began dating, I fully expected her to get the Scott Tenorman treatment.
I'm gonna get Scott Tenorman once and for all!
But Trey and Matt go for a portrayal that is more real and more terrifying than 25 missed calls from mom. In fact, the only real unrealistic thing about Carmen and Heidi's relationship is how it starts. Toxic relationships tend to have toxic beginnings. You know the drill. Girl dates boy who used to cheat on his girlfriend with her and is shocked to discover that the cheater is now cheating on her too. Who could have seen that coming? Carmen and Heidi, however, they didn't start off like that. Their love story makes rom-coms look unromantic. It all starts with a troll who trolls Heidi so hard that she quits Twitter. The boys suspect Cartman naturally. Gender tensions are rising and the boys are worried that the girls might do something drastic if they don't stop the troll. So, they lure Cartman into the woods and smash all his gadgets.
Please don't break my stuff, you guys. This is like 2 Christmases and a birthday worth of stuff.
His pleading just doesn't work.
No, God, no, oh my God.
But the boys have the wrong guy. For the first time in his life, Cartman is actually innocent of something. He is not the troll. The trolling continues, and all the girls dump their boyfriends in protest. The boys are horrified, heartbroken, and in Butter's case, extremely angry. The anger is going to be a problem, but let's just focus on Cartman, at least for now. At this point, Cartman's friends have all turned on him, he's been wrongly punished, and all his gadgets are gone and broken. All he can do is walk around, downcast, and fight the pain of being completely disconnected from everything. I know we're supposed to feel bad for Cartman here, but no matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't bring myself to care at all. But there is one person who does care, and that's Heidi. Her heart, unlike mine, has not been tainted by hatred and cynicism. In an act of extraordinary kindness, Heidi befriends Cartman.
Come with me.
It's a decision that she will probably come to regret for the rest of her life. But like a kid with mommy's credit card, Heidi is going to have a fair amount of fun before the ass whooping comes. Initially, Heidi and Cartman bond over their shared disconnection from the internet. Cartman is the perfect gentleman. Some may say the Riz Master General.
The hardest part is not having any followers. I used to go places just to show them where I was.
You want to go somewhere? I'll follow you.
And then there's Cartman's catchphrase. He drops it every single chance he gets.
Women are funny, Heidi. Get over it.
But does Cartman really think women are funny? This question is left ambiguous until the very end of season 20. He started the whole shtick before dating Heidi, so we know he didn't just make it up to seduce her. But what matters now is that Heidi actually believes the stuff that's coming out of Cartman's mouth. This is when Cartman and Heidi start to turn into one of those disgusting couples that wear matching outfits, do everything together and just rub their happiness in everyone else's faces. It's annoying AF, but it's also cute. But how is this real? I mean, this is Cartman we're talking about. Throughout most of season 20, Cartman and Heidi are so in love. They can't even get through delivering a speech to the school without stopping midway to whisper sweet nothings to each other for 17 hours straight.
Please hold still for 17 hours.
They even get together to raise money for the Danish project to fight online trolls. This is where cracks start forming in their relationship. A lot of people claim that Cartman's initial charm was just an act aimed at manipulating her. Even psychologists list initial charm as a red flag for narcissism. And you know, I'm just a guy with the YouTube channel. I'm no psychology, PhD, none of that. And I've only seriously dated one girl in my life, but I gotta disagree. I don't really believe Cartman was malevolent, at least initially. If you've ever been in any kind of relationship, you're probably familiar with the life cycle of it. You're always going to be charming at the beginning of the relationship with, you got the puppy love stage. You just can't really get the girl otherwise. And if you like her, everything she does is magical. She could be eating boogers out of her nose and it would still be the most beautiful thing in the world. Like I said before, the puppy dog phase, the honeymoon phase, it's all the same thing. There's kind of like this halo angelic effect on everything that anyone does. However, about 6 months in, your fantasies start colliding with reality and the halo starts to fade. This is just the end of the honeymoon phase. You realize that your girlfriend is not quite the perfect angel you had in your head. For starters, she never shuts up. She just wants to talk and 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 talk.
May he rest in peace.
It's not so bad when you're with her because you can always shut her up by putting something in her mouth. But when you're apart and you're on the second hour of a FaceTime call, listening to her tell a pointless story about a hairdresser who cuts 2 inches off of her friend's hair instead of 1 inch, it's just unbearable. You just want to yell at her to shut up. But you can't say anything. No, not you. You're a good boyfriend. So you pretend to listen because you don't want to hurt her feelings. You probably sit there and keep toggling the Wi-Fi on and off and on and off over and over again just to make the call buffer, and then blame it on her having a poor network connection. Frustrate her enough and she might end the call after another hour. Now, of course, she is also noticing things about you that she may not like. She wants you to shower before coming to bed, even though you already showered in the morning. She wants you to shave the 3 strands of beard hair on your chin that you've been nursing for the last year because they itch. She wants foreplay. She wants you to be romantic. Take her out more. Call her more. Blah, 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 blah. This is the stage of the relationship with the most arguments. It's a very delicate dance. If you can get over your hang-ups and learn to accept each other's faults, and maybe agree to limit the calls to 30 minutes, you can still have a pretty satisfying relationship. And if you can't, you just break up. I went through this process with my own girlfriend. We got over the hump and everyone enjoyed a great relationship over the last 5 years. We get along so well that she's even begun dropping hints about taking things to the next level. Naturally, I haven't noticed any of these hints, and I have no plans to notice them for at least another year. This is just a part of the natural progression of a romance. Now, unlike me, Cartman is a psychopathic, narcissistic monster demon spawn.
Me! Me!
The odds of him sustaining any relationship beyond the honeymoon phase are practically 0. His relationship with Heidi is also threatened by the asteroid of his past. As part of the project to stop online trolling that Carmen and Heidi happily volunteered for, Denmark plans to release everybody's internet history.
I would imagine there are some things you've done or said on the internet you wouldn't want Heidi to know about.
How can they make what I said on the internet available to the public?
I don't know about you, but I would be horrified, just absolutely terrified if that ever came to pass. And I'm nowhere as near as demented as Cartman, but I still wouldn't want anybody to see my browser history. Cartman knows that if Heidi sees his history, that relationship is toast. Over with, done, gone. So, he decides the most sensible thing possible. He just convinces her to move to Mars with him.
No, Heidi, we have to get to Mars, like, now.
But there's just one tiny, teensy little wrinkle in the plan. The technology at SpaceX isn't advanced enough to get men to Mars, unless...
Mr. Musk, wait! Maybe we can help you get to Mars sooner. I'm not sure if you know our friend Heidi. She's really smart and really funny.
By Jove, Heidi solves the energy equation. Elon Musk can start shipping humans to Mars immediately. How happy is Cartman? The correct answer is not at all. Why though? Well, moving his girlfriend to Mars to prevent her from seeing his browser history was the first sign. Heidi's solution to the energy problem brings Cartman's narcissism to the surface in full force. Up until that point, Cartman has been an absolute great, perfect boyfriend. Even when he was manipulating Heidi into moving into Mars just so they could avoid the internet, you could argue that he was just trying to save their relationship. I mean, we all keep embarrassing secrets from our partners. But as Heidi gets showered with attention from Elon Musk and the gang for solving the energy equation that would get humans to Mars, Cartman turns against her. The reason is simple. Heidi has other priorities now. Her life no longer has to revolve around him, and Cartman just cannot tolerate that. This extreme selfishness is what gives narcissism its more common name, main character syndrome. Yeah, I know, big surprise for Cartman, one of the main characters of South Park. I'm sure you know at least someone that fits this description. I mean, there's a whole subreddit dedicated to them, and their antics are quite, let's just say, intense. These are the people who will set up a picnic in the middle of the street, because you should be honored to even breathe the same air as them. Narcissists just don't see you as a person. You're just an object, a status, a symbol, a plaything. And that's what Heidi is to Cartman. He can't let her be her own person, because then she would no longer be an extension of him. Butters, who's been fighting a gender war this whole time after the mass dumping, is perfectly happy to add fuel to the fire of Cartman's narcissism.
I know what girlfriends do. They make you feel the happiest you ever felt. Then they crawl up inside of you and poop on your heart.
Cartman takes Butters' conspiracy theory and absolutely just runs with it. He has fully convinced himself that women will imprison men on Mars and mine them for the only things that women don't have: semen and a sense of humor. This is just a complete about face. 180 turn from what Cartman has been saying all throughout of season 20. So did Cartman really ever think women are funny? Probably not. Calling Amy Schumer's vagina jokes funny was a dead giveaway. But it's also likely that, like most narcissists, Cartman has zero principles. He doesn't believe in anything except his own superiority over everybody else. Every other belief can and will be changed to suit his need at that moment. And the need of the moment is sabotaging the Mars mission. As it happens, the internet is getting overheated with hate as Kyle and the gang are trying to stop Denmark from releasing everybody's browser history. While this is going on, Cartman conspires to reroute internet traffic through SpaceX. This blows up the whole of SpaceX, the entire building, up in flames. Now, the EMP from this explosion actually resets the entire internet, which was his goal all along. Now, everybody's browser history is safe. But for Cartman, this explosion accomplishes a second goal. It prevents Heidi from having any kind of life away from him. This is what drives narcissists: power and control. They want you to worship them, bow to them even, restructure your entire life to revolve around them. Cartman felt threatened by Heidi doing something that didn't involve him, and so he sabotaged it, ruined it, blew up SpaceX all because of it. Of course, he found a ridiculous conspiracy theory to just justify more to himself. The narcissists in your life probably are doing the same thing. They want your attention and adoration 100% of the time. Denying them their God-given right to adoration is a sin. And Cartman is about to get diabolical on that little sinner, Heidi. Season 21 begins with Cartman joking around with his friends. As soon as Heidi shows up, his mood turns absolutely sour. He starts finding her exhausting.
Oh, hey babe, what's going on?
He complains about her to his friends all of the time. He doesn't do the same with her, though. He is noticeably less cheerful around her, but acts like everything's fine. Even Heidi can't help but notice. But what's causing all this? He was sneaky before, but he used to be excited to see her. What changed? Well, narcissists only view people as playthings, and Cartman has a new toy.
Alexa, define subservient.
The term subservient has several uses: compliant and obedient to authority. 2.
Alexa, silence!
It works on Alexa, so Cartman tries it on Heidi.
That's the only...
Heidi, silence!
What did you say? That's what I'm talking about.
This shows the extreme superiority complex of narcissists. Alexa is the perfect slave, while Heidi is not. That rackles Cartman to no end. He responds to this behavior with Heidi by starting to withdraw his attention and his affection. Then he dumps Heidi, acting like he's the one who's been wronged, and then walks out looking happy as a clam. But as he finally let her go, no, unfortunately, not even close. This is just another head game. Cartman expects that Heidi is gonna come crawling back to him, begging for him to take her back, so he can reassert his power, his superiority over her. But the silly little girl just doesn't do what is expected of her. Cartman, like any narcissist, craves control, so he's forced to crawl back, begging and threatening to end his life if she doesn't take him back.
Wait, Cartman said he was gonna kill himself?
And when she does, he doesn't treat her any better. In fact, he goes around claiming she is the one who threatened to harm herself if he didn't take her back.
Because she said she was gonna kill herself, alright guys? There.
His selfishness and the victim mindset are on full display for everyone to see. Cartman's self-centered actions are too many to mention, so we're just gonna skip right over it. Let's get to the all-important question. Why the heck does Heidi put up with him? The answer, my dear friends, is simple. At first, Cartman was the perfect boyfriend. He was genuinely good to her. If he had been a psycho from the get-go, she probably would have run for the hills. But he charmed her and he hooked her. Cartman keeps Heidi on the hook by always blaming someone else for his mistakes. He blames his mom, blames society, and even blames Heidi herself, deflecting any and all responsibility and gaslights her. Narcissistic Tactics 101. They accuse you of whatever they're doing wrong. Heidi ends up apologizing for everything, even though she hasn't done anything wrong at all. The sad truth of the matter is Heidi can't just walk away, because she is way too emotionally invested in him. You can't just stop loving someone overnight. It takes time. I mean, if breakups were easy and painless, then Taylor Swift probably wouldn't even have a career. To avoid the pain, Heidi sticks around, thinking of the good time and hoping that they're gonna come back. This hope of a good time is what keeps people in abusive relationships, because if it was good once, it can be good again. But it's false hope. Narcissists, however, are very good at keeping this hope alive. They show the occasional flashes of charm. For example, when Cartman apologizes to Heidi for being a terrible boyfriend, and then he remains terrible. Or when he adopts veganism,
I want to be vegan with you.
just to sabotage her with Beyond KFC. Now, we can see that Cartman is full of shit as impartial third-party observers, but Heidi can't see that. She can't see what he does when she's not looking, and she can't hear what he says behind her back. That is a narcissist's most deadly weapon. You can't see into his head. If he just flashes a smile and says the right things, he's gonna fool you. The second reason why people stay in toxic relationships is the fear of judgment. Heidi is assaulted by a barrage of "I told you so's," and that hardens her resolve to stay with Cartman. Most people don't like admitting that they're wrong, and it hurts to admit that you suck at something. We like to believe that we made the right choice, and if we could stick to it for just a little while longer, we'll be proven right. The stubbornness goes so far that when people point out how horrible Cartman is to her, Heidi contradicts him out of sheer stubbornness.
You don't know what Eric's like when we're alone. He's actually really good to me.
But how good is Cartman really when they're alone?
You called me a whore and pushed me in front of a car.
Staying in a toxic relationship has its consequences, as we see with Heidi. By sneakily sabotaging her diet, Cartman makes Heidi fat. And it's not just her physical appearance. Heidi's personality also takes a complete turn for the worst. She goes from a kind, lovable girl to a selfish, foul-mouthed jerk. She's out-Cartmaned Cartman. The girl who volunteered to judge the special ed science fair goes back on her word and actually sabotages it because she is so envious of the resources the special ed department is receiving. She is isolated from all her old friends and turns into Cartman's sidekick. The deconstruction is unfortunately complete. Luckily for us, Heidi has enough insight to realize what she's become and cures herself of the cancer called Cartman.
Piece of shit! This was all your fault! You controlled me and turned me into this!
Just when Heidi is blaming Cartman for everything, it clicks.
I used to be kind, but then you... No. Not you. Me. I did this.
This realization finally makes her break up with Cartman. He pulls his usual antics, but Heidi ignores him. She knows he can't follow through. Heidi rids herself of toxic Cartman and becomes a background character ever after. While Heidi gets her happy ending, this is fiction. Toxic relationships in the real world are not usually resolved this neatly. They're very messy and could even take years to recover from. It's easy to fall into a pattern of dating people with the same toxic traits over and over again. It's also easy to pass on acquired toxic characteristics to others. If Heidi hadn't had that epiphany at the end, something which rarely happens in the real world by the way, she would have broken up with Cartman and just dated somebody else as the new awful person that she had become. She would then pass on that toxicity to whoever she dates, and that person would pass it on and so forth. And that's without getting into the other consequences. Heidi was lucky enough to only escape with a little bit of extra body fat. You may not be so lucky. You could be ruined financially, develop an addiction, end up in jail, contract an STD, get stabbed in the night, or even worse, end up having children with a monster who is unqualified to be a parent. Just sit there and imagine Cartman as a dad. I shudder to think of that reality. That's why it's always better to not get into a toxic relationship at all. And if you would accidentally find yourself in one, work up the discipline to jump out as fast as possible. The longer you linger, the more trauma you will accumulate. This makes recovery even harder.